Hello, welcome to another edition of the Insight250 Spotlight, where we talk to leaders and innovators all around the world to understand the stories and the people behind the insights. I'm Crispin Bill, the CEO of Insight250. I'm absolutely delighted to be joined today by Jairus Lofton, who's the manager of global menu strategy at McDonald's. And so, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me. I'm happy to be here.
No, fantastic. Thank you. Now, look, I'm sure the first thing that viewers will want to know is how did you get into insights?
So by accident, honestly, I did not even know that this was an industry or a career that I could get into. So I think that's actually a pretty similar story across insights. Really, a lot of people kind of stumbling into it, and really happy that we do because it's a fascinating industry to be in. For me, it started back when I was doing retail sales for the Hershey company. I enjoyed that part of my job, and I don't know how much you know about how deeply Hershey's invested in insights, but they really are an insights company that sells candy and confections and other snacks. And it really powers everything that we do. So I got a little taste of that while I was doing sales. But I got to kind of peek behind the curtain when I went back to Hershey, Pennsylvania for a training. And I got to meet some of the folks that were sending out these insights to the field that we were using to sell items in to retailers to get our stuff moved to the floor so it could actually sell. And it was really fascinating. So from that, I got a little taste of insights. And while I was there, I also had a chance to kind of meet some key leaders in the Hershey company. And so I noticed two things. I noticed first, I was interested in insights. And then second, I noticed everybody else had everyone who was kind of up in the organization had a advanced degree. So on that trip, I made a couple decisions. One, keep insights as a potential career. And then two, I needed to get an MBA or something equivalent to that. So I went back to school. I actually left my job to go back to school full time to get my MBA at Oklahoma City University. And in the midst of that, I happened to meet the director of insights at Sonic Drive-In, which is a regional QSR chain here in the US. And through that, we kind of struck up a friendship, and there was an opportunity to join his team that kind of came around. So before I knew it, I was on the Sonic Drive-In team, managing the brand health tracker and our consumer feedback survey, so the receipt-based survey, and I had no idea what I was doing. So lots of learning on the job and kind of digging into the world of insights. And I think for me personally, it was a great way to learn about insights as a profession because I was still getting my MBA. I switched from a full time to the executive MBA program. So I'm at work during the day doing my job. I'm going to school at night and I'm seeing the parallels between the two. I'm learning things in school that are reinforcing what I'm learning on the job at Sonic. And from that job, I got a chance to kind of delve into all of the insights work that you get to do with QSR, from segmentation to the new product development pipeline to ad testing. And it's been really great. It's a rewarding career, and it's something that I think at least deserves some attention from folks who are looking to go into the corporate world.
Yeah, well, that's a great story. It's interesting to hear. Now, quick service restaurants, that is one of the fastest moving environments, and insights is moving quickly as well. How do you see the role of insights evolving in QSR?
It's a really good question. I think the big thing on everyone's mind right now is how can we utilize technology to turn around insights faster that we are also confident in. I think that it's very easy to turn insights around pretty fast, but with low confidence. So the question is, how can we really have a lot of confidence in the results that are coming back? How can we get back feedback that is very robust, but also really answers the question in a way that's actionable? I think that's the biggest thing. So there's a couple key pushes. I think one is, how do we utilize AI? I know that's kind of the big topic in insights overall. Is what are some ways that we can use it to kind of help us throughout the insights process, but not kind of fully take over, because we know that it's kind of the wild west of AI right now. It's everywhere, and we're not really sure exactly how useful it's going to be, but we know that there's a lot of potential there. So that, I think that's question number one, is how can we kind of make that a part of our toolbox, but maybe not replace everything else that we do. And then two is how can we translate some of the bigger, I would say like more qualitative work that we do into actionable insights on a larger scale, so that we're able to take things from the field, take things from consumers very, very quickly, and turn that back around and say, this is the next steps that we need to take. Here are some actual actions that we can take. I'm seeing technology really help quite a bit with that. We're seeing a lot of tools now that are available to get consumer feedback almost instantly, when we're looking at promotions that are going out, or any kind of activations that are happening out in the field. I think the next question for us, at least at McDonald's, on a global scale, is how do we synthesize then that research across all of our different markets, take out those big key learnings that we can scale to our system. And then for the smaller, more market nuanced learnings, how do we make sure that those are embedded moving forward so that we can retain our competitive advantage? And I think in that instance, AI technology is really going to help quite a bit.
Yeah, I think those are all great points. And we do see that so much across the industry where everyone wants everything better, faster, cheaper. I guess that's a bit like the challenge you face when people come into a McDonald's. They want it faster and they want fantastic food and things,
Yeah,
and it to work.
absolutely.
So, yeah. What would be your top tip to be a leader and innovator in our profession?
So I think I actually have two. I hope that's okay.
Yeah, fine.
My top one is, so I've never had a chance to work on the agency side. I've always been on the client side. But one thing I know that's helped me out quite a bit is really proactively reaching out for feedback in the midst of research. So, you have to understand and kind of set a bedrock for what are we looking for? What are the questions that we're trying to answer first? And then have frequent check-ins along the way, with your stakeholders, so that hey, are we getting to where we need to go? Are we answering the questions we need to answer? But I think something that is not super expected is that, even folks who don't have an insights background, who might be your stakeholders in an organization, they're going to come back with really good feedback, because some of the things that we miss, I think, being very deep in the insights world, is some of the simple things, ways to phrase a question that might be a little more natural. Sometimes it really is, you're asking 3 questions on this survey, but I think this is the only one that actually matters. That's the only KPI we actually care about. Let's reduce the size of this survey for the people that are taking it. So proactively reaching out for feedback, I think it makes the project better. And I think it also earns a lot of trust with the folks that you work with. My second tip is to reach out to other insights professionals who are in different industries. So being inside QSR, I think, we get very focused on what is going on in the QSR world. How can we turn around insights faster, more holistically? And I think a key to that is actually looking at how are other folks looking at these kinds of questions, but in maybe completely different industries. An example for me, I reached out on LinkedIn to somebody who was posting on Insights work that is at a theme park. I love theme parks, and so it's like an area of just enjoyment for me. So I was naturally curious. This person does ethnography work for Universal, and so I was just curious, what does that look like? How are you understanding that work? And some of the questions that they're asking for the in-park experience is actually really similar to questions that we're asking for in restaurant experience or in-app experience or even drive-through. Some of those pain points transfer across industries, and some of those frustrations are shared. So I think if there's different approaches that other industries are taking, it kind of brings in a fresh perspective, and we can look to apply that to our own. So I'd say reach out, make friends in the insights world, even if they're not in the same industry as you.
Oh, I think that's such a brilliant top tip, and indeed, that's one of the things that Insight 250 has been trying to do with the winners and making sure that's all public, and the spotlight series and the articles to connect people and build these communities where people can share best practice and learn from each other. So it's great to hear it directly from a leading client like McDonald's. So thank you. And
Yeah.
then thinking of other sort of methodological kind of things, almost, how do you use customer segmentation to tailor marketing strategies? And I guess, for example, to optimize the customer experience across those different demographics and buying behaviors that you have in the organization?
Yeah, that is something that is constantly shifting and evolving. I think I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen as well, but in real time over the last few years, I'm seeing different approaches to segmentation than I saw maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Different ways to understand customer demographics. So more so than just how old are you, what life stage are you in, how many people are in your household, what TV shows do you watch, um, but understanding the motivations behind those demographics, I think is really key for us. Especially, we have so many different channels that people experience us across. So with a brand like McDonald's, we have not just our food, not just the in-restaurant experience or drive-through, but we also have the brand as consumers experience it, kind of holistically. So I think understanding one who's coming to us, right, is really key. That's kind of at the heart of segmentation, is trying to understand who are the guests that are actually coming to our restaurants, and then what helps kind of define their lives, what's motivating them, what are some of the similarities that we can draw across these different groups too. So I think understanding them very deeply as much as we can, and then secondly, understanding what is the motivating factor for them as they're making those decisions. And I think that helps us authentically speak to our guests, so that when they come to visit McDonald's, they are getting something they want. They're getting something that we know is going to taste good, but it's also something that they feel they can authentically connect to. One of the things that we've learned through our marketing, and this helps us with our segmentation too, is understanding our fan truths. It's those shared experiences that folks have across our restaurants across the world, but it's a shared bond almost. We talked about this. You'll saw it in our Super Bowl commercial last year. It's this universal experience where people are pulling up to the drive-through and they look at the menu and they kind of freeze because there's so many options. Things look so good, and you thought you knew what you wanted until you pull up at that exact moment. And we understand that is shared across all of our consumer types, right? So that's not just people who are visiting us very frequently, but it's people who are maybe more infrequent guests. They all have that moment. So creating those and understanding those shared moments, I think, is really key for us across our marketing channels. And then how do we craft our food as well? In menu strategy, we're really focused on this. How do we craft our food to kind of match that experience, to match that guest? And that is where having that deeper consumer segmentation understanding really gets at it. It's what are they trying to not only get from the food experience, but what can we deliver for them as they're pulling away from a McDonald's or they're getting a delivery? What is that thing that they're looking for, that key experience they're looking for? So I think having a more holistic understanding of who they are as a guest, and then what is that key motivating factor for them as they're making their purchase decisions, that really helps us as we're crafting our marketing strategies, but also crafting our food and thinking 3 to 5 years out. Where do we want to be and how do we want to meet our guests authentically?
Well, thank you so much for sharing in so much detail. That really is fascinating stuff, and so appreciated. Thank you. And if people want to find out more and want to hear more about this, there's an article which has just been published on SMR's Research World. So do log on there, or you can log on to insight250.com and read the whole article. But thank you very much.
Thanks, Kristen.
And my next guest today also knows all about the QSR space. I'm delighted to be joined by John Sevek, the Senior Vice President of MTAB. So, John, I know that MTAB works with lots of QSRs globally. How are these QSRs utilizing customer segmentation to help their marketing strategies? For example, to optimize the customer experience across different demographics and different buying behaviors?
Thanks, Crispin. I appreciate the opportunity to follow up Jairus and show how we can help QSR companies with their insights. Let's start with an example illustration of this interactive dashboard where I'm a consumer insights professional for Starbroil, and I'm looking to understand how we benchmark against our competitors and what insights I can share with our stakeholders. So, looking at this example, I'm not very strong in a number of these KPIs, but that's because we're looking at a national view. And Starbroil is a company that is based in the West. So let's make it apples to apples and look at our region. And pretty much right away, you can see that on a number of different KPIs, Starbroil is stronger, and now we're better than the average in most KPIs. I want to look at one of the best in class brands as a way to benchmark and see how we perform against Toasters, who's also in the Western region. We can still see we're still strong in 2022, but not as strong as Toasters. We've been making strides to improve upon that. So when data is updated for 2023, we can see that now there are some KPIs where we are best in class. An important element for our QSR users is to be able to look at that information on a trended basis and understand if we're improving or if we're falling lower on a number of these KPIs. So, something like NPS, you can see we were at a negative score in 2020, and now we've improved that and are significantly higher than the average. We do want to go higher, though. We're not best in class across all chains. In my competitive set, I am. So how are we going to do that? Well, one way is to look at behavioral data about reasons for visit. In this example, the red ellipses represent a 4-year average for my brand Starbroil. We can see that we are high on taste of food and the type of food. After that, quality of food is the next highest, but it's still below our main competitor, Toasters, which has high quality and is also a healthier choice. So we may want to go to our product team and talk about those as opportunities to increase our appeal to other customers. So, like Jairus said, we want to be able to trust our insights. So let's look at another study. This consumer positioning study is measuring importance among all the possible elements of a QSR visit. We have the ability to easily look at regionality, like we did before, or we can hone on a particular demographic, such as gender, age, or even the preferred QSR, and what particular needs may stand out for my brand, Starbroil, compared to the competitors. Crispin, I hope this gave you a good illustration of how we help our QSR customers with insights that are actionable. Thank you.
Thank you, John and Jairus. It's absolutely fantastic to hear these expert perspectives from both McDonald's and MTAB. Now, that wraps up another episode of the Insight 250 Spotlight series. Stay tuned for more episodes with more discoveries. Don't forget to like, to share, and subscribe. And until next time, keep innovating.